Hello, everybody. I'm Chris,
And I'm Edison.
and this is.
Thanks and thanks. Sorry.
That was funny. Okay. Tanks and Thanks, the official podcast of our YouTube channel, The Science of Tanks, where we dive into what is important in tanks and the science thereof, and we talk about our stories.
And other
Um,
things.
Edison, what have you been up to this week?
Work in school, and I'm still working on that water video series. But I think I'm getting it down to a point where it's not like too sciency, but also not too dumbed down.
Yeah, I'm
I also
worried about my rock video being very sciencey.
right. I'm also about to go submit an application at my local fish store
Woohoo!
because
Who is it? What is it?
it's called Fish for You. It's down. It's just up here in Mill Creek area. Um, Neat little store, but they do a lot, and they do saltwater, freshwater, but I feel like I could do well there,
Yeah, yeah, that'd be awesome.
even if I don't have a paycheck because I spend it all there. But you know,
At least your wife can control you a little bit.
hopefully,
I uh I definitely feel your pain though putting in applications. I put in 38 of them today.
oh wow,
Yeah. So I woke up this morning at 9 and then I just went until about an hour ago.
well, yeah, it's like I have a job right now. I just would be happier there. I think,
Doing other things.
yeah, and maybe I'm sick of working full time anyway, so we'll see what happens. Cause school.
It's true. Yeah. Um So, what do you think the water video is going to be like? Is it going to be multiples? Or are you planning on doing like I don't know.
I think I want to make it more like a TikTok sort of series, so it's good for the modern attention span or lack thereof.
Yes, yes.
So we have different sections of water. Like we have the basics of water, like two hydrogens, one oxygen, and then it starts building on that, like pH, then hardness, then different things.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it.
How many, if you're planning on doing it on TikTok, are we planning on releasing like a minute long video each time? Or are you planning on like doing, I don't know.
I could. I don't know if I can keep it to a minute on each video, but I would try and keep it around a minute. I'll see what happens, but I'm still in the planning phases.
Cool, cool.
How's the rocks coming?
Uh, the rocks are coming. Um, to be brutally honest, this week has been kind of crazy. So I typed a little bit on Tuesday, and then that's the last time I touched that script. So uh, here in Idaho land, we lost our heating and our hot water for 2 days, and so we were in a hotel for a while.
Oh wow.
But my fish are okay because they have
Well,
heat.
they have heat. Yeah.
But yeah, so I didn't really do a lot with it. But I am planning on doing something soon. I know
Yeah.
I need to.
I just get bored at work because it's the slow season for some reason. Working at a convenience store, you wouldn't think there would be a slow or a not slow season, but there is.
There's a slow season for convenience stores.
Well, the location we're in, it's right in between basically Salt Lake City and Park City, which is where all the ski resorts are and all the other sort of
Yeah.
recreational touristy stuff is. So basically, you fly into Salt Lake, you drive up to Park City, and we're like the last stop before Park City.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I can see that.
we do get like skiers and such, but then in the summertime, people are more out and about, and we're kind of on like a little back road that's a frontage road that's not a back road, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I can see where you work now.
Yeah, so
That sucks.
we're in a community, but we're also right off the freeway, so it's got a mix of business. It's a mixed bag. It's a convenience store.
So, is the fish store in? It's not in Park City. It's
No,
in Mid Mill
um,
Creek.
yeah, it's in Mill Creek. So it's like right before you head up Parley's Canyon is where I'm located, and so it's just down the hill from me, just a little bit further
Hmm.
west.
Cool. Cool. Um, I completely forgot to ask you. Do you have the intro ready?
Oh no, I haven't figured out how to put that into a stream yet, so we're
Okay,
just
so we're just gonna skip the intro right now.
skip the intro next time when we have Phil with us.
Yes, so I guess that's the first big thing that we're going to be talking about. Um, we have found a third person to come and be a part of our podcast. Um, his name is Phil. Well, okay, that's his fake name because he's doing, I think, a virtual tube type thing. But his real name's Kyle, but he's super cool. He's a horticulturist by trade, and he loves aquariums, and he's been doing it for a very long time, like 18 years.
Oh geez, that's longer than I've been doing most things.
Don't remind me that I'm elderly.
You sound like my boss.
Don't remind him that you're elderly, that he's elderly.
She.
She. Um,
Nobody
but
wants
he'll
to.
be on next week. He's probably watching right now. Hi, Phil. Or hi, Kyle.
Hi,
But
guys.
he'll be on next week. And yeah, we're excited. Um, what else, Edison?
Um. Oh, they just there's a new saltwater fish, a new chromis being imported from Japan that just hit the U.S. markets for $3,000 per
Oh,
fish. It's called a moonbeam chromis. Looks pretty cool, but I don't know if it's $3,000 cool.
yeah, no. There's people who do pairs of zebra plecos that they use for breeding for like 2,500, and I don't understand it. I've never been a big pleco fan, but
See, I like my little bristle nose that I have in the big tank over there. I have a male and a female that I just perchance picked up as a male and female. I picked them up as babies, so I had no way of knowing, but they bred once and then I think they ate all the babies. Because there was a bunch of babies that were flying around and then, oh, no, my tank crashed, so they probably just didn't make it. That tank's been through some stuff.
it's seen some things.
It's seen things.
I might be moving a lot sooner than we thought.
Oh,
Yes.
is that good or bad?
I don't know. Good in the fact that I'm probably going somewhere where I'll make a whole buttload more money, but bad in the fact that I'll have to leave this place early, and my landlord's not going to like that very much.
No, especially if you have like a contract.
It's only a month out, but like I've been applying to jobs in Salt Lake because they pay a lot better for my degree. So,
Yeah.
um, outside of that, I think that's it. Uh, inside the world of aquariums this week, I noticed something. Edison didn't think it was a big deal, but I thought it was a pretty big deal. And nobody else is talking about it. So I'm going to talk about it. But um, API has taken due liberty to release their European brand here in Walmart. And I don't understand their marketing for that because, to be honest, API already has a North American distributor and a North American brand. Why would you bring and spend all of the issues of using a European brand that you already own here when you could have used a North American brand?
I think it has something to do with the fact that Walmart wants exclusive rights to something with API, and API is like, hey, let's sell some stuff. So they're like, hey, we can both benefit.
Is
But
it really that
also,
exclusive though?
I found out while I was trying to research this topic that API, what are they called? The
Oh,
what
I
is it?
can't remember. I think it's
Let me find it really quick. It is Aquarian.
Aquarian. Yeah.
Aquarian. I did find out API Aquarian, like these are like a big, these are parts of M&M, like Mars chocolate owns these brands. They have a whole bunch of different brands doing different things, and so you have Aquarian, API. I think those are mostly the aquarium brands, but they're part of the chocolate company. Fun fact.
I'm wondering if it's a way they can use some of their excess like byproducts. Because
Well,
if
I
it
think
was, that'd be cool, and I'd love to know about it, right? Like I'm an environmental technician, and that's what I went to college for, and I kind of take a little bit of pride when companies go out of their way to be a little bit more environmental stewardship conscious.
no. This is America. This is capitalism. What does the environment have to do except be exploited? You know what I mean? So what I think is
How
happening,
dare you?
what I think is going on is that it's a deal between Mars and Walmart, in that Walmart wanted like an exclusive brand, and so they already had the brand rights probably already in America, and so they just said, "Hey, let's just use the Aquarian name."
I guess that makes sense. I was thinking, and this is my point of view, Walmart has a very bad record when it comes to selling aquarium things. And I was thinking API were the ones that were being a little bit more uptight about this. They were saying things probably to the extent of, well, we don't want API's brand to be tarnished by the amount of returns or being placed in Walmart. And I know that that sounds bad because Walmart is a, it's a retailer, right? But like, there's probably something there that API was like, yeah, let's give them a different brand.
So you can actually go on walmart.com and find API products. That's what was
Are
really.
they sold through
So
Walmart or are they sold through third
yes and no.
parties?
It's kind of like how Amazon works. So
Oh, so
Walmart gets
yeah,
in
it's done
contact
through
with
third
the third
parties.
party, but it's still on walmart.com, and Walmart ships it to you. So it's
I will say, um, they have two new products in that line that Walmart has never sold before: an ammonia remover and a water clarifier. At least I've seen them, but like I haven't seen them most recently. And the new API line, they actually sell it. So
Right.
I
We could
guess
do,
in that sense, Walmart is winning. But
yeah. I don't know if you want to get into it. I think a lot of the water additives are a scam, but that's just me.
yeah, the only ones that I would recommend ever keeping on hand is methylene blue, but that's just because of the way that it works.
That
So
and sodium thiosulfate, so the stuff that removes chlorine,
yeah,
because you kind of need that if you're going to be using tap water.
yeah, unless you're in an area like me where you have well water, but
Well, and then I have a water softener which takes the chlorine out, and I use the water softener water anyway because I don't really do a lot of water changes. I'm kind of bad like that, and just top off. And so I'm like, I don't want to. Yeah.
yeah, and I will use dechlorinator anyway just because. Especially because I use Prime because it kickstarts nitrogen cycle, so
Oh, really? It has like beneficial bacteria.
I don't think it has beneficial bacteria, but I think it has excess nitrogen and it causes
Oh, okay.
it to at least start cycling.
See, I'm a fan of doing it en natural, where you just do a understock the tank like severely, and then put some dirt in there, and then let the cycle happen.
I mean, it's a way.
It's a way. There's not a right way or a wrong way to cycle a tank as long as you don't put like a goldfish in a 5 gallon tank and expect it to live.
You know, you say that, but
It does.
it does, and there's probably a reason for that. But
Right. Okay, sorry. A beta fish in a bowl with no
there
filter.
you go. There you go.
Or in your case, a dinosaur pitcher with no air pump.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Never gonna live that down now.
No.
Um, and I think the last bit of thing that we're talking about this week in the way of news and science, I finally got all of my data back from my master's program.
Oh,
So I now get to spend all of my days and months and weeks doing Excel spreadsheet statistics.
fun.
It's actually a lot more fun than you're making it out to be, but um,
No, I love Excel. It's a really powerful tool if you know how to use it.
it's definitely true. I am going to be giving a seminar at BYU Idaho this semester for the invertebrate zoology program, though, using the data that I have. So it'll be fun.
That's way cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like my lasting grenade out of the door as I move to Salt Lake.
The grenade in what is, I don't know, just like the turd in the pool that floats up and just kind
Well, yeah, I mean,
of.
I need to give all the invertebrate zoologists what the actual realistic idea of a job would be, and it's just counting.
Hey man, that's a pretty hard job because we have auditors at work that can't count because like we've had really good audits and then all of a sudden this last audit we just had a really crappy audit for some reason. It's like we didn't change anything on inventory control. So, counting's a hard job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I would get so bored.
There are people who spend their entire lives just counting.
And that's their thing. My thing,
It's not your thing.
it's not my thing. My thing is like, do I see all my fish? That's what I like to count.
Duplicates.
Yeah, it's like, do I see all six of my doctor fish, or did one of them plop off and die, and I gotta find a body?
It's true.
Nah, doctor fish are pretty
Speaking
hardy.
of things counting, by the way, I figured I'd tell you this now. One of my old professors is giving away his entire collection of tanks here in Rexburg. So you might need to come up here sooner than later. Just saying.
Well, first, there's a couple hurdles I got to get over to get there. It's not that I couldn't just drive up to Rexburg. It's that I have to convince the wife that I need another tank to drive up to Rexburg for to even like.
It's not another tank. It's like another 12.
Oh, now she's looking at me.
And if you drove up to Rexburg, you'd be able to film this in person for once.
That would be fun. It would just be finding time to do it.
That's true. Anywho,
But like, yeah, that would
I'm
be.
planning on taking a few of his and putting them into storage somewhere. So,
Oh yeah, it'd be fun to just bring my car up, fill them up with glass tanks, and drive back.
hopefully nobody pulls you over.
Right? What are you doing with all those tanks? None of your business.
None of your business. Jeez, Dad. All right, so I think that's it for the first part. Do you want to do the first question?
Yeah, I guess I just don't understand the first question. Like, what is the question asking?
Oh, oh, sweet summer child, ye of
Well,
small
so
knowledge.
the question for our viewers is, why do reproductive events differ from event to event? So we're talking reproduction of what?
Reproduction of anything alive that can get out a baby.
Okay, so well,
That's a fish, right? Obviously,
okay,
or like even an invertebrate, but like
but here's the thing: there's too many factors on that to even like start. We could be here all night if we took every element and started discussing
mm,
it.
yeah, but like there's one big one,
There is
right? It's growth. If you give enough food, you get a lot of young. If you don't, then you don't.
well, food availability is only part of it. Um,
I agree.
there's also uh, water quality. If you have poor water quality, if the fish aren't happy that way, they're not going to be eating anyway to be able to give birth.
So, fun fact, there are certain types of fish that have a lighter, like a flighter life, like internal clock that basically says if you have really crappy water quality, they're going to try to give birth because they're going to miss out on their opportunity to do like a reproductive event. And
Ah,
so, like, it's like on both sides of the spectrum, right? If you have really good water quality, you get babies. If you have really crappy, though, you get babies that are going to die.
right. Um, because things like ammonia and heavier metals like copper, zinc, those things will actually stunt growth of babies. To the point where some babies don't even develop the operculum, the little gill cover. I believe that's what it's called. Okay,
You did good.
science. Or it just develops a weird spine. I have a guppy in the big tank. Call her Goofy Guppy. She's got a curved spine.
That's actually really common in live bears, just saying.
Well, just because of how they breed like rabbits.
Yeah. So, water quality, food availability. What about a little bit of ecology? So, like,
And
sorry, I think my wife just laughed.
no worries. I think of like Brisonose plecos. They're not actually plecos, but Brisonose plecos. Um,
You're close.
they're in the same genus, I believe.
Family.
Family. Okay. Anyway, Brisonose plecos. They will breed when you do a giant water change because it simulates breeding time for them, which is
Yeah, because the
when like
temperature
flooding
change
ceases.
specifically for a lot of
Oh, really?
for a lot of catfish. I can't remember Ictaluridae. That's the name of the family. But a
Oh,
lot of catfish, if you drop the temperature, they start breeding. That's
oh,
how you can
interesting.
actually get panda cories to breed.
Huh. I should try that. Get my cories to have more
I
cories.
mean, you can have a billion tanks to do that. And then maybe we could start selling them online or something.
Or we'd start hot rodding tanks for fish.
No.
Just have
Okay,
these
maybe.
crazy setups.
Maybe.
It would be fun. But yeah, so reproduction is one of those things that's governed by a lot of things. Um, you have the well-being of fish. You have genetics. So like with the live bear problem, with the it's really common where they have like bent spines and stuff. You know, that's some good old interbreeding. I heard heard a good joke about neon tetras. Actually, it says neon tetras are sandwiches because they're inbred. Um,
Lord,
right.
that was so bad.
But they're inbred, and that's why it's hard to get them to breed. And then when they do breed, their offspring don't do very well, and they just die off when you get them into a new tank.
Yeah. We're I am planning eventually, and now that we're talking about this, it might happen a lot sooner. But I might start talking about parental investment too when it comes to certain types of fish. Because there's certain fish like betas, right? Or all cichlids where their parental investment is insanely high. And then there's the ultimate ones, which are salmonids or salmon, where they basically give birth and then they are the food for their children after they give birth and then they die, right? So like,
And you thought having kids was bad enough as a human.
yeah. But in general though, most of the aquatic universe is not heavily invested as parents. Most species that are also not pair bonded either, which means basically the husband and wife stay husband and wife together forever. There's only a few instances of that in the aquatic world, and so um, that also plays into it, right? Because if there's a lot of parental investment, are you controlling the amount of reproduction you have, right? So,
Right.
but
It's like why and there's also the whole survivability factor of like why insects have their their strategy for having viable offspring that will produce another generation is to just have billions of them, where mammals have a different strategy where we have one, maybe two, three kids at a time and invest in their well-being so that we can raise another generation.
yeah,
So like the difference between like angelfish and or ram cichlids and live bears in a sense.
yeah, but technically speaking, and this is me being a little bit scientific, so I'm sorry, forgive me.
Well, this is a science
But,
channel,
well, yeah, but I still want people to watch.
right?
Um, but technically speaking, in ecology terminology, right? When we're talking about a species, all fish is what we would call R selected. And what R selected means is low parental investment, high birth count.
So
Um,
closer to insects than mammals.
exactly. And in some instances, that's true. And actually, a lot of instances, right? But it doesn't mean that you can't have a high parental investment and a few offspring like betas or gobbies or um, I think that's it that I'm thinking. Oh, cichlids.
Ah, so the cichlid family and the anabantoid family are generally the ones that
They'll
have the
have
higher.
smaller litters.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
They'll have smaller litters, and then obviously there's a lot more effort that gets put into the young till birth. So, like for betas, obviously the male will build the bubble nest, and then he'll oxygenate and continually building on it when the eggs are laid.
Until they
So
hatch and then they're on their own.
yeah, but
Oh, that's interesting.
all right.
I think
Do you
that
want to ask
answers
the
the
next one?
question. Sure. The next question is, can you overfilter a tank? You want to go first?
I'm curious what you're gonna say
I can go first.
because you technically do have a lot of filters in your tanks.
Yeah, so I tend to, from what other people would think of, I overfilter my tanks. But that's because I kind of overstock them a little bit. But I think overfiltration is kind of like drinking water. Sure, you probably can overfilter a tank, but you'd really, really have to try.
It's true. Um, yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat. I would say, and this is probably going to be another question for next week, is it doesn't do anything extra to beneficial bacteria like after a while because of carrying capacity of beneficial bacteria is met and you physically can't just like shove more even with more filtration.
Right.
Um, one of
However,
the benefits, okay, you go.
okay, I was just going to say, however, with bacteria, uh, the carrying capacity for when people typically talk about beneficial bacteria, they're talking about nitrifying bacteria. At a certain point, when you have so many fish, they're only putting out so much ammonia, so the nitrifying bacteria only have so much food. However, there's a lot more to the microbiome than just the nitrifying bacteria. So when I think of beneficial bacteria, I'm thinking of everything. Those are the bacteria that break down fish waste, other wastes, and other organic material to other nutrients. These are the ones that will eat the pathogens that will, you know, keep an ecosystem going.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least that's how I view the bacteria.
Yeah.
So
No, I mean, that's correct.
having
I
more
think,
filtration gives a greater space for bacteria to live so they don't have to live in the water column is my kind of point of view.
yeah, but that's a physical carrying capacity, right? So the second type of carrying capacity that you're going to reach is chemical, where either the beneficial bacteria will be at a specific population because that's what the food allows, or they're not going to have the available things to eat outside of the food, I guess. That's usually what we talk about. What I talk about, especially when it comes to carrying capacity of bacteria, because carrying capacity of bacteria is kind of unmeasurable. It's easier to measure the amount of excess food or the amount of, that kind of stuff.
And in the planted aquarium, as far as freshwater is concerned, in the planted aquarium, you can actually kind of measure where all the nitrates are going because it turns into plants. Um, so when you're trimming your plants, you can actually see how much extra nitrogen is being produced, because if you have it properly stocked, properly planted, properly filtered, it all kind of balances out.
It's true.
And so
Um,
so to me, over filtering a tank is just going to be providing too much surface area, and then it just doesn't get used.
yeah, I think, and this is just me, it does do one beneficial thing. Water changes, or not water changes, but filter cleaning less often. Because they're not doing the full duty, they're doing half duty. And so you end up with less waste with less amount of time, which means less cleaning out your filter.
Less goopers living on your filter,
It's true.
right? I've also noticed that the filter media you use will actually um, factor into how often you have to clean the filter. Like I like K1 media specifically because you don't have to clean it, because it has big enough holes in it that even when the bacteria get fully developed on there, they don't clog it up. So water still moves through it.
Yeah. And I mean, it also depends too, because the finer particulates size of a filter you have, the more clean your water technically will get too. So
Well, I
I
guess
guess
that's
it depends on your battle,
it depends on what
right?
you're trying to remove from the water.
Yeah. There was a tank at the aquarium that I used to work at. They had moon jellies in it, but the moon jellies all died because the way that the filter worked, it was a very low powered. So, first off, one of the care requirements for moon jellies is barely moving water, but moving water, right? So that way they can actually float and do moon jelly things. Um, the intakes were kind of like flat against like the top of the tank to basically make it so like there was no real waterfall effect into the intakes or into the sump or anything like that. It was a very like gradual cascading thing. But the issue was is that they had holes about yay big in like this cutout that would be in front of the intakes. And so you get moon jellies that would get sucked up into the intakes and then dead, right?
Right.
Um, I brought this to the attention of my boss, and I was like, why don't we just put, and this is just me thinking outside of the box. It's probably not the best solution, but like a screen for like windows over it. So that way we don't get any sucked up. But then there would be a lot more algae because more space to grow it on. And
Well,
so like you'd have to choose your poison. Do you want to keep buying moon jellies consistently, or do you want to spray down some screen covers every once in a while?
and my thing is algae is quite beneficial for a tank. It doesn't matter if
Oh
you're in
yeah.
saltwater or freshwater. Algae is
As someone who did all of the water testing for all 40 of those tanks, I can tell you how beneficial algae was.
it eats that extra nutrients so that it's not harming the fish.
Yep,
So if you don't have
happens so
plants,
often.
you need algae. And even with plants, you do need a balance of algae in there too.
Yeah. It sucks though because people are like, it looks bad. Well, no, it's a part of the freaking ecosystem. Stop being mean.
Right? The algae is just trying to help you. Just clean it off the front of your glass and you'll be fine.
It's true. Um, all right, Edison,
Yeah. Third
how
question.
often should you be switching out your aquarium gravel? Can I also preface this question? I got this question idea from a video I saw on TikTok of a lady who had just bought in a brand new tank and she had about 2 inches worth of substrate and it was like a 29 gallon and she just put plants in there and someone was like, you need to switch out your, substrate every so often so that way it doesn't like build up all of the ammonia and that kind of stuff. And you have to gravel vac it deep. So that's where this question is coming from, and this is probably going to be used as a stitch afterwards. So I'm going to rephrase the question again so that way I have a good place to edit it in. How often should you be switching out your aquarium gravel?
Do you want to take it or do you want me to take it?
I want you to do it.
Want me to do it? Okay.
I talk way too much.
I do too. Um, Here we go. If from my perspective, from what I've noticed, from what I've experienced, switching out your aquarium gravel.
Uh-oh.
I'm back. I should be back.
You are back.
Oh, good. It just suddenly stopped working. Anyway,
Your mic is super quiet though.
okay. Let me. How's that?
Better.
Okay. Here, let me. Here we go. So the aquarium gravel houses its own ecosystem, and that's why you have to have like 2 inches of gravel. You need space for that ecosystem to flourish.
You'd be so mad at me right now.
This is how I do my tanks. There's plenty of ways to do it, but I think you can over clean a tank.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. That's something that we're not debating, but
Right. This is how I do it. Like my big 55 gallon, I put some Java moss in there, and then I was worried about sucking it up, so I just stopped vacuuming the gravel like a year ago. Haven't touched it since. Um,
okay.
because I have the proper the bacteria, the ecosystem underneath the gravel, the anaerobic bacteria are doing their thing. They're processing the fish waste, the bottom feeder waste, all the food into nutrients for the plants that are gonna grow, and I take it out with the plants. That's how I do it anyway. So
Okay.
replacing your gravel would just be suicide in that sense because if I kick up the anaerobic bacteria, it's gonna kill my fish.
Yeah, so I personally, and this is just me, um, I definitely feel like it's important to do turnovers every so often. So that way you don't have anaerobic zones built up, right? And those are very common in nature, right? But like they happen in aquariums and they could be pretty harmful to aquariums as well. But removing the actual gravel and replacing it is just ridiculous. It's kind of the worst idea ever because most of the beneficial bacteria in every aquarium is in the gravel. And so like by taking that out, you're literally crashing your tank.
Um, yes and no. Uh, from what I understand, every surface area is where bacteria lives,
Yes, but gravel has a lot more surface area than everything else in your tank.
depending on what you're using. And
Okay,
so,
sure.
so yes and no. You still need a filter. You can't just get away with gravel.
Yeah, no. That's back in the 90s when under gravel filters used to be like
The
the
thing.
the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I'm kind of a more of like I'm lazy. Um and so I like not having to do water changes all the time. I like not having to vacuum my gravel. And, in nature, the fish poop, and where does it go? It goes to the bottom and it sits there and rots and, well, decays and decomposes and in these anaerobic zones, and it doesn't really harm the fish. It just adds more nutrients to the water that get taken up by something else. And I figure, that's how the fish are used to living. And that's how I can set up an aquarium because, the pond doesn't need water changes. The pond doesn't need gravel vacs. The pond doesn't, why should I have to do that in my
It's
aquarium?
also outside and it has seasonal overturn, sir.
Fair. Fair. But I'm thinking like a lake, right? Where it doesn't really move a whole lot.
um, as someone who is a limnologist, basically, um, lakes do move.
Okay, well, sure. And that's why
So
so
okay,
that's why
so
it's important to have an aerobic zone and an anaerobic zone in your gravel. You need to have some movement over the gravel so that there's water that gets enough oxygen so that you have the oxygen zone and the non-oxygenated zone.
yes.
I'm not saying don't have movement on the gravel, but you need to have
No, no, I understand. That's why I love like Malaysian trumpet snails.
Oh
Malaysian
yeah.
trumpet snails are perfect at moving gravel around. Um, it just sucks that they're evasive almost everywhere. But like, you know,
I should get a couple for my tank, honestly, just to move my gravel around and
do it.
keep things
Do it.
lively. Because I don't know if Utah has any laws against them in the home aquarium, as long as I'm not releasing them into the stream behind my house.
Well, I'll let you know. I have an interview for invasive species inspector. So,
Oh, hey.
yep, next week.
Well,
In
just don't
fact,
check out my house.
I am kind of concerned on how easily it was to get the interview because I put it in like this morning and then they called and they're like, "Can you come and meet with us? Maybe just a
I guess
little
it's
bit."
one of those jobs where it's like they don't have very many qualified people that are applying, and you applied, and they're like, oh, hey, this guy's qualified.
All of a sudden, I'm qualified for things.
Hey,
Wow,
man,
what an aspect.
I've had a job where I was hired before I had my interview. I've actually had a couple jobs like that. Um, I had an
That's
interview
fun.
scheduled for like Tuesday, and they call me like Friday and say, "Hey, can you start Monday?" And I was like, what am I getting paid?"
That's weird.
I
Um,
guess
yeah.
that's having a foot in the door, though.
Yeah, it's not the only job I have an interview for, but never mind. Um, no, the ones that I'm really hoping for are the ones that give me relocation assistance.
That would be nice.
Trust me, there's a lot of them that I applied to that could.
Yes.
So,
Well, I hope things work out for you there.
well, they're all in Salt Lake, so
You're relocating regardless.
yeah. Um, okay, so that's the answer to that question. Remember, please go on and submit questions either in the chat even. I don't know if we actually can read the chat afterwards. I
uh, I've
tried and
I've
it's
been looking
like,
at the chat and nobody's said anything, unfortunately.
well, we're just alone then. But it's okay.
I'm streaming for fun. I'm not doing it for likes.
It's true, and we don't. But eventually, I'd like to get paid to not work. I think that's the goal of everybody.
Look, man, I'm not even here to make money. I'm just here for the fun of it.
That's true.
It's kind of like
That's
aquariums
me
in
too.
general.
Yeah, you just have someone to info dump to.
Yes.
Scary. Okay, so that wraps up all of the questions. We desperately need more. My list of availables are dwindling quite a bit. So
So, literally any channel you want to send us questions through, even if you hit us up, like DM us in TikTok, or you find I think I'm adventurous fig something something number on Reddit, DM me questions. I would love to have questions to answer.
I agree. So now it's on to the big question. The big
Oh
question
boy.
this week comes from, actually, it was more of a curiosity question from one of my old bosses.
Okay.
One day he asked me, he was like, if you could replicate an environment, what would it be? Given, like, because you can't do it because of cost or time or, like, for whatever reason, what environment would you replicate? And I guess why? And what would that environment look like? So, like, what fish, what, like, hardscape, softscape, plants, inverts, that kind of stuff. Edison,
Oh boy.
what would you do?
Oh boy. That's a good question. I'm still kind of at the as Chris on Fish for Thought calls it, I'm still kind of at the Noah's Ark phase where I'm just like a little bit of this, a little bit of that in the tank. But I think it would be a lot of fun to build like an Indian biotope because I freaking love like honey gouramis. They are my favorite. I think it would be fun to build a biotope for the honey gouramis. The plants,
No
just
snails.
yeah, do everything that way.
That's awesome. Like, are you talking like Malaysian marsh fields or like high tannins?
Yeah. So I'm thinking. I think that's where honey gouramis are from. Is like the Malaysian rice fields,
Hmm.
same places like betas, and
Yeah,
except betas are from like Myanmar, I believe.
Myanmar
Whatever. I don't know how you say it.
or
I'm
Burma.
I'm American. If you can't tell.
You be cultured.
Yes. So I think it would be fun though to basically replicate the environment that honey gourami are from and just have a couple of them in there and just let them flourish as honey gourami do. I just don't have a tank to do that.
It's true, and it requires a lot of like, I
Research
don't want to say
and
effort, but like you have to have all the right stuff.
I'd literally have to go to, you know, that biotope and just like scope it out.
There's lots of bugs too, so that's another thing too.
Well, so the good news is the tank down. Wait, where's my finger? Here, where I'm breeding the honey gouramis. I somehow got aphids on my floaters, so I think they've been snacking
Oh,
on those guys.
well, that's good.
Yeah,
Not good for the rest of your tanks.
just the floaters. The aphids can't get down in the water. They hate the water. They drown. And I have
I know,
mostly
but they
aquatic
can get
plants.
on other planes. Plants. Wait, do you have floaters on your other aquariums?
Nah, they don't survive because I have too much flow on the top.
Um, cool. So,
How about yourself? Which
I should have, because I wrote this morning, I should have given some time to think about it, but I just didn't. Um, let's see.
I don't know. Your favorite fish is like the
Okay,
panda koi, right?
yeah, but that'd
Wouldn't
be
it?
the exact same environment as you, and that's not interesting.
Well, aren't panda koris?
So,
Koris are from the Amazon River, aren't they?
yeah,
So you could
but
do an
they're
Amazon
pretty
biotope.
similar. They're blackwater environments.
Ah,
There's three primary like locations for different analogs of or different models of blackwater environments. One's the like Bolivian rainforest, where it's lots of tannins and lots of hard minerals too. The others are like Asian rice fields, where there's a lot more insects, a lot less water flow than in the Amazon. And then the last one is in Australia, where you have tannins that release seasonally.
okay.
So I think if I were to reproduce any tank or any environment, I guess, I think I'd love to do. Okay, so this is going to be a little weird. I think I would like to reproduce a carbonate reef, but plant driven. So like kelp forest driven
Oh, okay. I see what you're talking
and
about.
Halomediae driven, like primary producing carbonate like plants. So you have the backdrop of like all of just kind of the dead corals, and then you have all of the really lush green kelp kind of sticking up out of it. But
Okay.
those tanks are so hard just because they just go out of whack so quickly.
Well, I mean, it's building basically a broken ecosystem, if you will, because of
Yeah,
the dying corals.
it's true. But I think, yeah, I'd do that. I'd also maybe do heavy tannins too at the same time. So that way it'd be like East Australia coastlines during like the summer months when it rains. That'd be
I think
cool.
I think it would also be fun to do like a discus tank. I've never done a discus tank before, so I think keeping discus would be fun and just doing like a discus tank with like some neons or cardinal tetras.
They're very pretty fish, so
They really are, and so they'd stand out in the black water and the it's really soft water.
it's true. All right. So that was our big discussion. Um, anything else for us before we leave?
Let me check the chat. Doesn't appear anybody said anything, but we can wait a second.
That is sad.
Oh, looks like it's nappy time for the fishies.
Uh-oh. Oh yeah, it's 9:30ish.
Yeah. Well, there's no comments in the chat,
Okay.
so we'll
Well,
call it a week.
um, yeah, we'll call it a week until next week. Um, I just realized two things. First, if you like watching this, please show us. We could really use it. Um, and then secondly, we didn't actually have an ending last time. We just kind of like
Said bye.
said bye. So I'm gonna leave it up to you to make the ending.
Okay.
But this time we're just gonna be like, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. And then end the stream if I was paying attention.